All right. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well on this lovely Tuesday morning. Let's see, we're going to go ahead and jump into our time of training. My hope is not to be on very long. I think we have of course, we've been working hard to try to make sure that, first of all, can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up, emotion, something, just let me know. Okay, great. All right, so we've been working very hard to make sure that our CES system is working functionally, effectively, and efficiently so that you're able to not only you're able to do your job, but we're able to help you do your job as best way as we can. And of course, one of the major evolutions of the system has been, how do we make referrals and how do we make sure that agencies are working within priority? How do we make sure that agencies are receiving the right prospects for client engagement? And how do we move forward to make sure that there's a very clear bridge and communication between those two entities? Okay, and so today we're going to talk and introduce two new parts to this system, keeping in mind that as I introduce this. This is something we've been talking about all the time. There is one part that we've talked about in recent regional coalitions, and these are going to be very simple, easy, efficient transitions into how we make assignments within our system. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Let's see. So the first thing I have to make sure you know is that, as a disclaimer, is this. The information that I'm sharing today strictly applies to rapid rehousing, okay? So everything you're gonna hear me say from here on out applies to rapid rehousing only. I mean, we will be implementing, homeless prevention piece of this thing. However, right now, everything that we're gonna talk about today is strictly in the rapid rehousing only lane. So if you have any questions about the HP lane, I can reserve that for the end of our training, and you can fire away and ask questions about that as well. And just to reiterate as well, as we introduce these parts of the system, I want to not only just introduce them, but I want to introduce them into the flow of our system. So what you're going to hear a lot of is not only introducing a new part of the system, but it's also going to be me reiterating things that we should already know about our system. And so hopefully some of the things that you will hear and see in today's presentation, although some things will feel like you've seen it before, hopefully with these elements being introduced, hopefully you will find clarity in the process and seeing how our dashboard as well as our technical assistance form fits seamlessly within said system. So as you have questions, feel free to chime in or feel free to raise your hand if you need to ask questions. We will try to reserve questions for the end, but however, if there's something in the middle of this presentation, please feel free to stop and make me reiterate. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're all getting there in the same way. All right. So with all being said, let's start here. To understand the system, of course, you have to understand what does it mean to actually participate in our system. All right. So every time we're being judged in this system, our system is simply looking at this process when it comes to CES participation. I mean, I know you've heard me say it and bang the drum on this, but I want to make sure it's very clear that as we're judging the system, here's how we're judging it. We're judging it from people going into outreach, going on a wait list immediately after, also ending up in your program modules, and then hopefully, if all things remain equal, being moved into housing units, into stability. I'm going to ask if you have some other background noise. I'm going to ask if you would to mute your background just to make sure that we're not having any interference in your time of understanding this or presentation. All right. So so now that we know this is the process, right? Something you've heard me say over and over again. Now let's dig into how that process fits. Again, starting at the beginning. So of course, the very first thing we know about the system is that we're taking people basically from our outreach, okay? And so what it means for us to take people from our outreach is us, as well as other outreach funded agencies. If you're ESG if you are ESG funded if you're funded for ESG street outreach, you are also obligated to do street outreach, okay? And so it starts with our COC, our street outreach funded agencies, going out into the highways and byways and finding people and making sure that they are connected to our system for services. So of course, you see here from our system, here's our natural paths for people to come within our systems. You see our regional outreach programs, which is our regional CES outreach. We see our funded outreach programs, which is of course your ESG funded outreach programs, and then also emergency shelters, being able to have people come from from shelter stays being put into our system. Next, and so I'm sorry, somebody has some background noise going on. I'm not sure what it is, but it's like somebody's talking in the background. So if you could mute them just to make sure that we don't have any interruptions, that'd be awesome. All right, and so again, as we have people who are in outreach, we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions. I know we've had some confusion, or maybe just needing some clarification in days and months about how the process works and how we want to make sure that we're participating accurately in the system. And so with that, I want to make sure that when people are in outreach, we have to ask ourselves two immediate questions. Okay, is that after we've done street outreach, we have to ask ourselves the question: have the following been completed? And so you see right here to the right, number one, has the client been actually added into an outreach, a regional or program street outreach? Okay. Again, we cannot get people prioritized for services if they don't make it into the outreach. Okay. So make sure that people are in outreach modules. And then secondly, we also cannot prioritize unless said people not only in the outreach program, but then while they're in outreach, if they have a BoS completed in the system. Again, this is the prioritization mechanism. So we want to make sure that people are not only in the system, but actually have our assessment, which allows us to score people. Okay. So every time you add somebody to outreach, you have to ask yourself those two questions. Are they in outreach module? And do they have a BoS on record? And the next immediate step after people are put into our outreach is this: after being added into outreach, they have to be added to one of two waiting lists. Of course, again, I know that I sound like a broken record because I'm repeating some things that you may know. However, my hope is that the context of this will make sense as we add the other pieces into our system. Keep in mind that this part, of course, is very important. It is actually something that we're working on cleaning up right now with our system, is that we want to make sure that everybody who is in one of our outreaches is also on a wait list. And of course, you have two options to choose from in this regard. There's our regional follow-up wait list, which is of course for people who we are trying to seek out or may have been denied, not denied, but may have refused housing services or have expressed a desire not to be housed or expressed a desire and we can't find them for whatever reason. Or they're on our regional housing wait list. And again, this is our list for those who are interested in housing, regardless of the housing ready piece. They may not have all the information, they may not have everything just yet, but they have expressed the desire to be housed. And so again, once we've done outreach and once we've gotten past the outreach, once we've got their in program, and once we've gotten the BoS for that, we have to ask ourselves one additional question. And that question is this: after adding them to outreach, has the client been immediately added to a regional wait list? Keep in mind that this is not a step where we simply put them in program and say, hey, all right, we've done it. We've got them on the outreach. We have to also make that additional step of after we've added the outreach and added their BoS for that score, immediately, next step, add them to a wait list. Okay, so make sure that for everybody who you're doing outreach on, they make it onto one of the wait lists. Again, we got to distinguish between who in our system needs housing, who desires housing versus those who we're trying to follow up with. Again, a very immediate step right after outreach is making sure that they're on one of these two lists. Does anybody have any questions about that before I press on? Okay.
Reggie, I'll just say this. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, this is Hannah. We were auditing the system and we noticed quite a few people that were added into an outreach program in June, July, and August that were not added to a wait list. So we're just trying to understand what we can do to kind of help within this process. That's why we have trainings like this. So you already noticed I sent out a long list of clients that need to be addressed. So if you have any questions, just let Reggie know or let myself know.
Okay, thank you, Hannah, for reiterating that. So again, if you have questions about any of those lists that were sent to you, please reach out. We want to make sure we clarify everybody, make sure everybody is put firmly in a position within the system. So, all right, so now we've done street outreach and we've done street outreach, we've added them to our outreach program, and we've also put them on the wait list. And so then there comes another immediate question. People on the wait list, and now you need to serve a client in your program. So what do you do now? All right. And so here's where a new part of the system kicks in. The next part of that system is this, the CES Technical Assistance Form. All right. This is something that we've recently developed to make sure that we're able to handle, understand, and record all requests that are made for CES. Keep in mind that part of our system is the fact that we have to not only do outreach and get people into the system, but we also have to make assignments to other agencies throughout the system. And so we've built this as a technical assistance form. If you've used the HMIS technical assistance form, keep in mind that this is not a part of that. Make this really clear. There's a difference between the HMIS technical assistance form and the CES technical assistance form. If you have something that is directly related to your experience and you're doing your technical mechanisms in the HMIS, you need to address that with the HMIS team. If you have a question about assignments, if you have questions about our system and where a person should be, this is the venue where you're able to share your concerns or make requests on our system. All right. There are 4, and so just so you see right here at the bottom, I hope you guys can see my screen. The link for the technical assistance form is embedded in msbos.org. In fact, more specifically, it's msbos.org/CESTA. All right, although it looks like SESTA, almost like I wanted to spell siesta, it's actually CESTA. All right, so we tried to make these links easy for you to remember. So even if you weren't there, you don't have to go and guess, wait a minute, so where do we go to put in technical assistance requests? It should be all very easy to find. Again, msbos.org/CESTA. That'll be your one stop to go and ask questions and make requests on our system. So what requests can you make within the technical assistance form? You can hit 4 different areas here. This is a screenshot in what the TA assistance link, of course, like the HMIS TA link, you're going to have to add information, of course, like your name, your email, what agency you work for, what program is your change related to or your request related to. All right. Feel free if you want to, although we're not, the official request is not active just yet. If you want to, you can go to the site and you can, if you want to, put in some sample information just to kind of get a feel of what it's like to request. Especially if you put some sample information in there, we'll be able to hopefully tell where where the dummy information is, and we can delete the request if need to. But feel free to go there and test it out and make sure. Again, we tried to build it to try to meet all the needs that we could, figuring out all the needs of the system. But again, we are open to feedback, so please feel free to reach out to me if you see any issues, especially in the interface of it. So again, here you have 4 requests. You have client assignment, which is again adding a client to your program. So that's you requesting from us that we give you somebody to add into your program. Secondly, you have the client removal, which simplistic is removing the client from your client assignment from your agency. And we can talk more about how that happens and what that entails. Client status updates. Again, this is alluding to our dashboard, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And lastly, well, actually 2 other options, but we have system support and questions. So let's just say that you have something specifically you like a message you want to about the system or about a request that you want to address to a navigator. There's a link. There's a mechanism for you in support and questions that you can reach out to either me or the navigators, or you can select to as many people in that regard as you need to answer your request. And then the last is other. If you got some other question that you're not sure exactly where it fits in the grand scheme on one of these other requests, we have an other where you can just simply, add your information and then ask that question, and we'll try to respond to you. Keep in mind that for every response that you send to us, you're going to get an email receipt, just like the HMIS TA. You'll get a response knowing that we've recorded and seen your submission. And usually we're going to find a way to respond to you via or responding to that email as a form of communication. So any questions about that part of the experience? Okay. All right. So when it comes to clients assignments, all right, although I don't have a screenshot on here, when it comes to client assignments, here is the information that we're looking at that we'll be asking from you. The number of clients that you're requesting. And so keep in mind, when you make this request, you're making it in real time. You're not necessarily telling us. You can tell us if you want it over a month. However, if you have a request right there, like you need somebody in your program right now, you can add the number of people that you're requesting that we send to you. You can add what household types those people fit. So if it's an individual you need for your program, or if it's family, you can tell us that within the requesting mechanism. Also telling us what region, so we can know what navigator is this addressed to, and not only that, what list are we pulling from to make sure that your programs are filled. Target population, if you're like, let's say if you're a PSH program and you need somebody specifically chronically homeless, tell us that. I mean, of course, we'll be looking at the list, we'll be making those priorities, we'll be looking at the priority of it anyway. However, if we want to make sure that we're communicating accurately, so if there is a target population that you're trying to address in your assignment, let us know. And then also, again, there's a custom criteria piece where, again, if you have a specific request that is not covered in these first few criteria, you can just simply customarily address us, and we'll try to make sure that that request is meeting the need. So again, that is client assignments. This should be after you've added your name and information and program you're addressing, it'll ask you these questions, and then of course and that submission will be made to us. Next, client removal. As you see here in my screenshot, there are several reasons for requesting a client's removal. All right, you see here, it says CT refusing, and so in this case, CT means client, just for clarity, just for the sake of clarity here. CT could either refuse housing, maybe you got in the process and somehow they just said, you know what, I don't want to. CT cannot be contacted or located, not compliant with the program, self-resolved homelessness, or in an institution. Okay, so if somebody falls in one of these categories, you can report it to us. But now make no mistake about it, if you're going to ask for the removal of a client, one of the questions that's in there, although it's not on my screen, and you see it noted on my slide here, you must have documented the contact in HMIS. Okay, like we will honor the request. We want to make sure that there's data proving your request within the system. In fact, after you've made the request, the next question, or as you've told us the reasoning, one of the next questions on the TA form after this particular question is, have you documented the contact in HMIS? Again, we were going to follow up. Remember, I, as well as the navigators, have access to this system all across for monitoring, compliance, and advisory. And so we're going to be checking the system to make sure that, hey, if you're going to say remove her from your caseload because you've made the due diligence of trying to find them or whatever the case may be, we want to see that accurately reflected in HMIS. If it's not accurately reflected in HMIS, we will not remove it until it's done. Okay, so it will be an official assignment to you until then. I see somebody has raised their hand. If you would go ahead, I can't see on my screen.
Hey, Reggie, it's Ben. Hey, so if they if they die, would that be under add choice?
I'm sorry, one more time, Ben. I could not hear that.
If we're working with them and they unfortunately pass away, would that be under add choice?
Under what? What's that last part? You kind of trailed off.
I see there's add choice under.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I can make sure that option is in there. That is one it's not actually recorded on there, but it can be added, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely. So yeah, any other questions? Thank you, Ben. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Looking in the chat. Okay, nobody. I just want to make sure. All right. All right. So any questions about the TA link thus far, other than that? Okay. Next, client status updates. Keep in mind that all the information, keep in mind that this will be connected to our CES referral dashboard. And as we're doing case conferencing, like for instance, think about, I want you to kind of picture this. Imagine being in a regional coalition meeting and us working the list by working the CES dashboard, which we're going to be talking about next. Well, again, if you're in this certain place with a client, we want to be able to communicate between each other, the navigators and the COC, with you and the program, understanding where people are and how quickly or slowly they're progressing through the system. If you have a client update that you would like to make so that you can see it on the dashboard, because again, it's not only a good tool for us as a COC to be able to see and know where you are with clients, but it's also something good for maybe your admins or your EDs to be able to see and go, okay, here's where we are, the people who've been assigned through us throughout the COC. And so this may be a good chance for you to be able to essentially show your work here. And again, here are the client status updates, or the options for update. We have no initial contact, meaning that if you've been trying and you haven't gotten it yet, we can change the status of that. Keep in mind too, that all the updates are being done by the CES navigators, okay? You're able to see the dashboard, but you are not able to affect change unless you communicate with us as a COC to be able to make the change, okay? You will only be able to see the dashboard, or essentially in fact, another way of context to think about it, think of it as, although you don't necessarily want to make it a competition, but think of it as a scoreboard, all right? And somebody has to put the number on the scoreboard to reflect your score, right? And so, so think of it as that, if that helps get the idea across. No initial contact in agency program, that is essentially the base mechanism. So if somebody shows up on your dashboard, that is basically the cue that they've been assigned to you. I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about I'm thinking refer to agency, forgive me for that. In agency program means that this is either between you putting them you moving them from the wait list into your program, or whether it's us searching the HMIS to see if they've been actually added into your program. That's where that status comes in. In housing search, that's usually through case conferencing, whether regional case, whether that's in our regional coalitions as we work in the list, or you're talking to us through these status updates to let us know. Keep in mind, you can send a request through the TA link to tell us to update statuses, which we'll talk, which I'll again mention in a moment. And I will also say that you can update up to 3 client statuses at a time. So if you have multiple updates, you can do 3 at a time. It'll ask you for the client ID, and then it'll ask you for the status. What region they're in and what's the status, and you're able to update those. And again, this just prompts our navigators to be able to go onto the dashboard and make the changes as you've requested. Move into housing. Keep in mind, if someone is moved into housing, they're going to disappear off the dashboard. You're going to hear me say that again very soon. And then also move to follow-up list. If there's, for some reason, somebody needs to move, we'll do the moving. Or we'll do the moving from the status part. But again, you need to still communicate and use HMIS to help us reflect those changes. Keep in mind, you're simply telling us that that's where they need to go. You as the agency still have to do your due diligence in HMIS to actually move people into program, move people off of wait lists, move people to programs and whatnot, okay? And then again, and lastly, self-resolved homelessness, meaning that, again, if something happens and they resolve, you have a chance to say that, so that we're able to track that with the system. Ben, your hand is still up, or you have another question, or is it just happen to be up?
No, sir, I'm sorry. That was my fault.
Oh, you're okay, you're good. Any other questions before I press forward? Okay. So again, keep in mind that we're still walking along the path of our process. Keep in mind that we've done outreach, we've added them to the wait list. Now you go into the CES Technical Assistance Form to make requests so that they can be assigned or removed from your program. I mean, like at least alert us of that addition or removal. So then the question becomes, well, how do I see who my program has been assigned or new clients or updated statuses? And that is where this comes in, the CES Referral Dashboard Hub. Again, another new link, msbos.org/CES Hub. That's msbos.org/CES Hub. This is where you will find a dashboard of all of your regional dashboards of agents, of clients that have been assigned to your agencies throughout the state. Okay. And what I like to do right now is I like to break the monotony of me talking by playing a video of me talking. So here we go. This is a quick demo of the CES Referral Dashboard and how you can access it. Okay, so here we go. And let me know if you can hear with a thumbs up.
The purpose of the new CES Referral Dashboard is to provide clear and simple communication of housing referral assignments to our service agents. Accessing our new referral dashboard is quick and easy. First, go to msbos.org/CES Hub in your browser. Afterwards, scroll to the bottom of the page and click on your respective coalition's referral dashboard. Next, put in your regionally designated password. Once you've gained access to the dashboard, find your agency list and then add the clients into your housing program from the regional housing waitlist in HMIS. It's just that simple. For more info about our process, visit msbos.org/CES.
Okay, so now that you're done hearing the video talk, you've seen a lot of skills from me today. You've heard me talk, you've heard me DJ, you've heard me play a video of me talking. So it's a very well-rounded day, right? So, again, the CES dashboard is a place where you will be able to see your agency regionally assigned clients. Now, keep in mind, this is simply a viewing tool for you as an agency. There's no work for you to have to go and view your clients on the dashboard. Keep in mind that as I know many of you agencies have different clients in different regions. And so that means you should have a spot on every regional for every region that you are covering. So feel free to go on there and see what's being offered. I know that it's password protected. Keep in mind the password protection is so that if somebody's perusing our site, that they can't just randomly stumble onto our wait list and our assignments, right? The passwords to each of our regional dashboards, and there are different regional passwords. We'll be emailing those out in a follow-up email before the end of the week. But you'll be able to go in, put those passwords in, and be able to see your regional dashboard. Keep in mind, this will be our official channel of communication when it comes to your assignments. So whenever you have a question about who you've been assigned to, you should be able to go to the dashboard and see that. Again, the benefits of this, something we've talked about before, is the fact that it helps agencies to be able to focus on outreach. I mean, for the COC and agencies who are supposed to be doing outreach to be focused on their outreach. But it also helps navigators focus in on referral communication and priority for CES. Our hope is that this can help us smooth over our assignments of how do we to send HMIS messages with notes and communication about who's been assigned to what. Well, we're trying to make that a lot simpler by having this dashboard. And more importantly, a couple of things I really want to make sure that I got across and I reiterate over again is that if you have clients in different regions, they will be on different dashboards. So theoretically, like for instance, I think the easiest example here is Mute. Mute will have spots on each region's dashboard because they have clients all over the state. I know Bolivar County will have, Bolivar County has a list for Delta as well as a list for Northeast. So again, you're gonna need to make sure you're accessing all that your all that your agency covers within regions. Any questions about regional coverage with the dashboard? Okay. Remember that the client status is managed by the navigators. Again, that requires you to communicate back and forth together. Again, by working the list or doing the CES TA link. Those are going to be official channels to be able to change statuses on people should the need arise. And again, only referred clients show up on the dashboard. You get to focus on your people. You don't have to wade through all the mud. You get to see those people who have been listed for you. You get to serve and know them. And here's the beauty of the dashboard. If you have someone on the dashboard who has been housed, when that person is housed, then they are automatically removed from your list. They disappear. Now, we still have record of it, but you'll at least know, okay, we've at least got this person in housing. We'll have record of the fact that hopefully we'll be able to run reports and do dashboards to be able to show how many you've housed throughout the course of this process. But keep in mind, if somebody's moved to follow-up list, they disappear from your they disappear from your list. If they are housed, they disappear from your list. And also, when you're making those removals or those additions, you will be asked additionally through the CES TA link whether or not you need another person, whether you need to be assigned another person or not. Again, we are leaning on you to communicate with us what your needs are, okay? We are going to work together. We're going to do our best to know your programs and be able to send you viable candidates. But we also want to make sure that you have a say in the process, helping us understand what you need when you need it. Any questions? All right. And keep in mind that we are still within the process of CES as we make this presentation. And so now another question arises. I've got my assignment from the dashboard. What do I do next? Keep in mind that our dashboard is simply our way of physically or verbally telling you these people have been assigned to you, but there still are steps to do. And the next step is this. You have to take those assignments and you have to physically, of course, add them into your program. Keep in mind that if you're moving them from a regional wait list into your program, that's what constitutes you participating in CES. And so as the assignment is made, it is still incumbent upon you to go in HMIS and make the physical move. The CES navigators are not making that move for you. You are in charge of pulling them from the list into your program, okay? If as you're doing that, you have to ask yourself another couple of questions. Number one, has the client had an HMIS event completed? One of the things that I know that the HMIS team has been asking about is as people are being moved into program, are we completing events that let people know or that let the system know that these people have been moved to a permanent supportive housing bed or to a rapid rehousing bed, or have they self-resolved, or whatever the case may be. We need to make sure that events, HMIS events, are being done on people who are being moved off the list into programs. And not only that, the last question we have to ask is, has the client been discharged from outreach? One of the most important notes here is this. Your discharge date from outreach should equal the program admission date. So anytime that we log into the system, we should be able to see a digital electronic date timeline of where this person was engaged in outreach, put on and taken off the wait list, and then put into program. And once that person is put into program, there is no need, essentially, we shouldn't be following their outreach anymore, because again, they're in program. It's incumbent upon agencies to be doing case notes and contact logs and case notes in HMIS to follow that trail from the time they hit your program to the time they are not in your program, whatever that looks like. So again, as we're making that transition throughout the system, you have to make sure that we're hitting all those high points, especially with making sure that they're actually added to the list, added to wait lists, ended their wait list stays in program, and being discharged from outreach and events added. Those are very important mechanisms that we don't want to miss, because again, we want to make sure that we're accurately tracking our system performance measures and that we're hitting all of our benchmarks as needed. Any questions about the idea of events or discharging from outreach?
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, I just want to be sure about this. Outreach has to be done before, not outreach, I'm sorry. The event has to be done before taking them out of outreach, correct?
Yes, well, they're on the wait list. Yeah, you want to do an event.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Any other questions?
Can you explain the HMIS event for us here at CDI?
Yes. So the HMIS event, what it really helps us do is to bridge the gap between how people are flowing through our system. So an HMIS event, like to get it, of course, you have to, when you're in HMIS, is you have to, of course, make sure that that person, you got to make sure, number one, that when they're in their program, you have to make sure that you go to services individual, and under there should be under forms, and then it should say CE event or HMIS CE event. Once you go in there, you find your client, you put the date, essentially put the date of when the action happens, and it'll also record the date of when you're actually recording this event happening. And you're able to just say, okay, where are they going in the system? Are they headed to a rapid rehousing opportunity? Are they headed to a permanent supportive housing opportunity? Have they self-resolved their homelessness? Have they, are they left the project for something else? That is a chance for us to be able to see how people are interacting with our system, and are they ended up in our programs, or are they ended up in a different place? Yes, Kirk, is that you, Kirk? I'm assuming.
Yeah, quick question for the HMIS events. Let's say I put someone on the waitlist for mute, but then they're assigned to IDS. Which agency does the event?
IDS. They're being assigned to their program.
Okay.
The program that is receiving the assignment does the event to make it clear that that's where they're ending up.
Okay, so who does the discharge? The outreach program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, wait, no. I actually the program,
Well, if they're in an agency outreach program, a different agency could not discharge them. So that's where you'd have to communicate with the agency that did the initial outreach to make sure that they're discharged.
One more time, Hannah.
So if Mute did the initial outreach under Mute ESG outreach, and then CDI or USM or whoever it is housed that client, USM or CDI could not discharge a client out of Mute's program. So the housing team or CDI or USM or whoever it is would have to communicate with the outreach team for Mute to have them discharged out of outreach. But the event will be done by the housing program.
Yeah, but then the regional outreach, of course, you can still discharge.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one more, Reggie, but it's going back a little bit. Like, how does this pertain to SSVF agencies? Because we're all fighting for veterans, but also, the VA requires us to try to push for same-day enrollment. I don't,
That's a good question. So with the SSVF agencies, they're not having, like, at least for their veteran referrals, they're not having to participate, like put it through this particular system, because you guys are already working your list individually. You've been doing that for years now. So as far as veteran intakes, this is not applying to that. However, for all other intakes, meaning other, forgive me for not having a word for I guess it would be civilian, I guess. I'm not sure what word to necessarily say right there, but
All other like civilians have to go through that.
yes,
Unless you're a military
non-veteran.
veteran. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly. And keep in mind too that when it comes to SSVF, especially when it comes to our idea of making sure that people are participating in the system accurately, the SSVF programs do not have to abide by the 1 day rule. Keep in mind that the 1 day rule we talk about is about when you put somebody onto a wait list, they need to be on there for at least 1 full day so that we're able to record, position, and understand prioritization of that person within that region. Okay. Veterans do not have to abide in that rule. All other agencies, non-veteran, have to abide in that rule. Hannah, your hand is raised.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify something really quickly. I just wanted to go back when we talked about discharges from outreach and CES events. If you're housing a client that's on a different agency's outreach program, the CES event is only available to the outreach program that client is in. So if it's in a regional outreach program, anybody could discharge them and put in a CES event. If it's under a ESG specific outreach program, and we'll use the same example, if CDI is housing a client that was found under mute outreach, CDI could not complete the CES event. The initial outreach program would have to complete the discharge and the event from under the outreach program. I just wanted to clarify that because we're going to put it in an email. So I know that was something that, since it came up as a question today, we'll make sure that is clearly explained in an email that you can reference back to.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So now as we look at the system as a whole, here's what you're seeing now. That's the reason for going through the entirety of the system to make sure that everybody understood. So now, as you see the link, as you see this graphic that you've seen several times, now you see that the CES TA link works as a mechanism between the regional housing waitlist being and assigning into programs. And then the CES dashboard functions as our current working list that shows us who has been assigned to a program or who has been removed or status updates within the system. So again, this is, although the idea of adding these two technological mechanisms into it changes, not much changes. You just now have a technical mechanism to make requests on the system and also to see who has been assigned to you by the system. And so when we look at the phase in of the dashboard and everything surrounding it, we're going to try to send a training follow-up email on Thursday, September 1st, just to reiterate the links, the resources, the passwords, everything that you need to essentially get started. We're going to send it by email September 1st. The dashboard will launch on Tuesday, September 6th. So starting that day, you can go and make official requests onto the system through our CES TA link. Again, the CES TA link also launching at the same time. And I put on here as an additional measure about the CES MMAs. We're going to try to get those done so that you're able to also see your progress in the system. Keep in mind that for the last couple of months, you guys have been receiving the MMAs, letting you know about your project's participation in CES and how good that's been going. Keep in mind too that as we're doing this, again, we understand that right now funding is, you guys, a lot of you have a lack of funding because you're on the ramp down in several programs. However, this hopefully gives you a mechanism to make an official request on the system as you have funding. And when you get to the point where you have consistent funding again, when you're renewed, then we can have even a more in-depth talk. If you just want to say, hey, Reggie, hey, Navigator, I know I need this many a month, hands down. We can have that conversation. You can reach out to us. You can actually put that again in the CES TA link to let us know what you need and how you need it, okay? But again, we want to make sure that this is a way that you're able to know that you've made a request upon the system. We're able to communicate with you knowing that you've given us an official request in the system and that we're able to go back and forth. So with that being said, any thoughts, any questions about the system, about the possibility, the concerns about efficiency, anything? Just here's a moment for you to talk or share how you feel, whatever the case may be, please.
So do we just reach out to anybody in mute whenever, or any
I'm sorry.
problem, as far as the HMIS events and stuff?
I'm
Do
sorry.
we reach out to
Can
anyone?
you, I'm sorry, you kind of trailed away. Can you say it one more time for me?
I said-
She was asking if they need to discharge, if they need to request a outreach discharge or CES event being put in under one of MUTE's outreach programs or anyone else's outreach program, we will put the designated contact person in our email. So it won't just be anybody.
Okay,
It will be a designated contact person.
okay, that was my main concern, okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Okay. I wanted to put a plug in again for the CES MMAs as well. If you have questions about how they're scored and how we obtain scores, keep in mind we're using your data to make these to chart or guide me our grade performance. So if you have questions about how this is calculated and how your scores can get better, feel free to reach out to me by request. You can actually, if you want to, put in a request through the TA link, just simply fill out the support questions piece and and that'll come to me and you can just say, hey, can we schedule a time to talk about it? I'm more than welcome to do such. But please feel free to reach out to me. And again, if you have any questions or you know anything about our CES, if you go to our Bounce State website, on our menu, we have a CES menu. And everything you need to know about CES is right there. So please feel free to go to the website to get the information. Again, additionally, you can still reach out to us. Notice the CES Referral Hub, the Technical Assistance link, MMAs, our process, all of that is listed on the website. So please feel free to reach out to us. We want to make sure that we're able to help in any way we can. So please feel free to reach out to us, or hey, go to the website, msbos.org, and you can search and find what you need there. I know I've asked several times, but before we finish, are there any last questions, thoughts?
Can you please send the recording of this to Ms. Olma?
Sure. Yes. Yes, I can.
Hey, Reginald, may I speak with you after it's over?
Yes. Just give me a call after we end, okay? Give me about
Thank you.
so, and then just call me a call, okay?
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I think we've worked really hard to get to this point. I'm excited about the possibilities of what we're able to do and what we are doing. And I hope that as we work together, we're able to make the system function as efficiently as possible. There will be things that we'll have to address, and let's address them as they come up. But please feel free to reach out to me. Even if you're just concerned about, you're not sure how this is going to play out, just reach out to me. I want to know. We want to make sure that we're able to help. But with that being said, there's nothing else. I'm done. Thank you for your time. You guys have busy schedules, so I appreciate taking the time to be on this with me and the rest of the team. Again, I'll be sending out a follow-up email on Thursday. And again, you can reach out to me if you have any questions. With that being said, we are done. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Well, if I can, I'm going to. Why you won't move?
Reggie, you want to stop recording?
Yeah, hold on one second.